Okay.
Are we live, ladies and gentlemen? I think we are. This is your NXT review right here on Off the Script. I'm joined by Ticket Drew today, and we're going to go over the great show that NXT was last night. Mr. Karrion Kross and Scarlett debuting last night. Io Shirai and Charlotte Flair, and then did the Velveteen Dream capture the NXT North American Championship? I'm fucking up already. The NXT Championship. Well, we'll talk about all that right here on the podcast today. Let's hit the introduction, and I'll be with you guys in just a little bit.
Come on.
What is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. I made 2 blunders already today, and we're not even 2 minutes into this thing. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining me here on the NXT review on Off the Script. I'm joined by Ticket Drew today. What's going on, buddy?
What's going on? How you doing, man?
Good, good. What'd you think of NXT last night before we get into the in-depth analysis of last night's show?
I know it wasn't better than AEW Dynamite, but it was a good show.
Oh, there you go. Look at that. The WWE shill saying AEW was better, right?
According to your fans, I'm a shrill. Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about one of your favorites, Charlotte Flair, today. Her match with Io Shirai last night for the NXT Women's Championship. We also last night had Adam Cole defending the NXT Heavyweight Championship, not the North American Championship, even though I think Velveteen Dream should be mixing it up for the North American Championship. That was the main event of last night's show. Dexter Lumis seems to be creeping around. We'll talk about him and where he ends up in this entire thing. Also, the major debut of Karrion Kross. He's on the lips of everybody today on social media, especially after last night. As soon as that thing popped up on NXT last night, everybody was buzzing about Mr. Karrion Kross, a.k.a. Killer Kross. Will go over his debut as well on NXT. And yeah, we'll get into it, guys. We got the lines open. Super chats will be flowing. If you guys want to ask me and Drew any questions whatsoever on NXT, you guys can certainly do that. And if you guys want to follow me on social media, you guys can do that as well, at JDfromNY 206 on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button as always. Turn on the bell for notifications. And if you missed anything, including the AEW Dynamite review last night with my boy Jesse, that is linked down in the description of this very video. Drew, you want to add anything before we get into the podcast today?
Sure. To all you goons, go get yourself some Pedialyte. Stay hydrated. I know people are either working outside or they're doing their thing, maybe working out, maybe doing work at their home gym. Go get some Pedialyte. It'll help you out, keep you hydrated.
So you mean to tell me when I go out drinking and I have this hangover of sorts and I'm dehydrated, Pedialyte's going to get it done?
So Pedialyte is one thing you should always have. You should definitely have electrolytes, and you should also grab some of this. This is Alpha Brain from Onnit, and it's ripped and opened because it's in my water bottle. I am not hungover. I don't drink Monday through Friday, but this has amino acids. It has B6. It has a bunch of stuff that you should really put into your body, and we're not going to make this a health and fitness podcast, but take care of yourselves. You could watch all of AEW or NXT, whatever you want to watch.
And I need some of that stuff. You got to hook me up with that stuff.
I'll send you some.
You didn't drink anything for Cinco de Mayo, Taco Tuesday. You don't have any tequila, Mr. Tequila.
It was funny. Me and you were texting back and forth, and you were saying you're going to have to go do some stuff and prepare for Cinco de Mayo. I actually did the same. My wife actually asked for some tacos, so I went to Whole Foods, grabbed that type of stuff. We had chicken tacos with almond flour, like roll-ups, because we're all healthy over here. But I did not have tequila on Cinco de Mayo. I drink enough tequila on Saturday and Sunday to last me, so we're good.
Oh, all right. There you go. I had a nice little margarita I made for myself at home.
I got to give you my margarita recipe. I guarantee you never go back.
I'm pretty sure of it, but the places around where I am, they're doing a bunch of these places, like these takeout places, doing kits. So I bought I got a margarita kit, and it was like $80 or $90. They give you the bottle of Patron or all that stuff, ingredients. You make it at home.
Yeah, you must be making good money if you want to spend $90 on a margarita kit. Good Lord.
Well, I mean,
don't get me wrong, I'm living all right, but I'm not spending $90 on a margarita kit. But keep those super chats coming.
Yeah. Keep the super chats coming, guys. You guys can ask me and Drew anything you want in regards to AEW last night, NXT last night as well. So let's get into this thing. Drew, I want to ask you right off the bat. I know you said to me before we actually went live today that you thought AEW was a better show, and I would have to agree with you. I was actually anticipating NXT to be better than it was. It just had this hype like a takeover would have with the Dream Cole match, and then Shirai versus Charlotte, the big Kross debut, Johnny Gargano versus Dominik Dijakovic, which was great. You got the Cruiserweight Championship tournament continuing. What made AEW stand out to you compared to NXT last night? Is it really that AEW is taking these empty arena shows and just using what they have to their advantage? And why doesn't WWE, I know last night was a tape show, and hopefully for the next set of tapings they actually, I guess, have fun with it. What is the difference between these shows, and why is there so much difference between AEW and NXT right now?
Well, I think last night, if you watched NXT, you saw just how well Triple H and the other producers over there are A, producing matches, and B, the lighting. Very dark, so you don't know there's nobody there. I mean, realistically, everybody does, but that's the illusion of television, and that was very well done. The thing that AEW does so well is the empty arena stuff. We've never seen it before, but they are second to none. I mean, the talent being in the crowd, the noise that they produce, it's just fantastic. And top to bottom, the Cody-Joey Janela match wasn't my favorite, and that's no knock on either competitor, but I think Cody's above Janela right now. I like Joey, but I just think he's above him, and I understand why you have that match. But everything else on AEW was fantastic. The Jake the Snake Roberts thing was fantastic with Brandy. The main event was all over the place. Matt Hardy gets trapped into a freezer and then comes out. I'm going to get so much crap, I'm sure, in these comments because this is now a WWE show and all I'm talking about is AEW. But I do believe that AEW had the far superior product. And I made a bold prediction on Twitter and I stick by it. I think AEW is going to draw a very high number, a very, very high number.
Did you see on Twitter where people were, I don't want to make this an AEW show either, but I mean, being that you brought up Jake the Snake, I found it to be incredibly hilarious how people were shitting all over the Jake the Snake segment last night, that he was, I guess, grinding on Brandy Rhodes. Some people were saying he stepped on the snake. Did you see any of these comments, and did it come off as bad as people were saying? Because I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
I mean, the only part that I saw that I was kind of like cringeworthy is like I think the snake got really close to her crotch area, and I was like, they better grab this snake. Other than that, no. I mean, people tried to like overanalyze and psychoanalyze everything in the wrestling business. He dropped a snake on her. The one thing that bothered me, I'll be honest with you, when Jake the Snake came out in a mask, I was like, why is Jake even here? And then he took it down. And I understand he doesn't have to be there and he's taking, procedures and protocols. But realistically, if Jake's not feeling well or sick or whatever, that was the only thing that I was kind of like, ooh, I don't know if Jake should have been there if he has to wear a mask to be on live television. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I mean, I read something on JR today, too. JR was worried about traveling, and he's actually staying in Jacksonville for the foreseeable future to work closer to home, per se. He was even worried. So if Jim Ross was excited to be there, I'm sure Jake the Snake was excited to be back live with Lance Archer, building this story towards Double or Nothing as well.
Who wasn't happy to see Jim Ross back on commentary, though, man?
I mean, he sounded the best I think he's sounded in AEW so far. And a lot of people, again, on social media said that JR sounded better than Morrow last night. Like Morrow in a taped atmosphere or in that empty arena atmosphere, just the energy is there, but it's not the same. It totally is not the same.
I know Morrow's your boy, and I like him too. He calls a very good boxing match, which is where I first, heard of him. And I thought he was good on NXT. He was welcomed. I'll be honest with you, my favorite NXT announcer, obviously besides Morrow, is Beth Phoenix. I think she does a fantastic job. And if I can, Jim Ross's book, I just got my hands on it, I think yesterday. I think it was Monday. The Under the Black Hat is fantastic. If you haven't read Slobberknocker, go out and find that first. It is a beautifully in-depth story about the business, and the beginning of JR Slobberknocker had me, and I'm not an emotional guy, had me kind of like, okay. And then Under the Black Hat just with his wife and stuff just threw me for a loop. So appreciate your loved ones while you have them.
If you guys want to go get that book, actually, you guys can get the audio version of both of them using my Audible link, audibletrial.com/offthescript. Just a cheap plug there.
I wish I would have known that because I just signed up for Audible.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, it's a great service. I wanted to ask you, man, I was thinking about this earlier today with the empty arena shows. Does WWE go and have some fun with these shows? And with the next set of tapings, do they allow some fans, like AEW brought fans into the arena yesterday? I don't know if those were friends and family. I don't know if anybody was related to the staff or wrestlers there, but it looked like there were a lot more people in the mezzanine section when they were having that street fight last night on AEW. Does WWE have some fun with these shows, let up on the restrictions a little bit, give some life to these shows? Or is it what I think it is, and they don't want to really kind of have fun with these shows and really expand on the empty arena shows right now because AEW has it in the bag and everybody's praising AEW for their empty arena shows? Is it more of a situation where WWE doesn't want to do it because AEW did it first and Vince McMahon is very petty and very stubborn in a way where I'm going to do the shows the way I want? You know, I'm not going to copy them because if we do it, then people are going to say that we're copying AEW and he doesn't want people to start saying that. Is there any logic behind that at all?
No, let me ask you a question. You're a very smart man. Do you think Vince McMahon gives a crap about what NXT or what AEW is doing? Do you think
of course he does.
Do you think he watches AEW?
No, he doesn't watch, but he has people who watch.
Sure, and I think the only person that you will see that won't try and copy AEW is Triple H, which is why they haven't allowed NXT talent in the crowd. They haven't done a bunch of different things that would mimic AEW. I don't think Vince McMahon's never going to change his ways until he feels legitimate competition. And AEW 100% is legitimate competition, but they're also not on Monday and Friday nights. And I've said this a million times. I think AEW puts on a better product than the WWE at times. And I think WWE needs to fix things. But Vince McMahon is not going to put them on the radar until he's going head to head with them on Monday night. It's just how he operates. That's just my opinion. Do I think that they're going to change some things? They're going to allow fans? I think it's sooner rather than later. I think Vince McMahon and the WWE knows exactly how important the fans are to the business and how the fans are to live events and television. And I think if Vince McMahon could, I think he would have talent at Money in the Bank, fans at Money in the Bank. I just don't think I don't know if they're going to do that on Sunday.
Do you truly think Vince McMahon appreciates the fans? Because all I've heard for forever was Vince doesn't really give a shit about the fans. Does he finally need to take a step back and say, you know what, maybe, you know, the fans have been the lifeblood of this business for the duration, and he's finally opening up to that. Will he open up to that a little bit more after seeing the ratings on Raw go to a 1.6? SmackDown ratings are a 1.9. They're only going to get worse, to me, in my honest opinion. He's going to have to open up eventually, right?
Everyone's suffering in the ratings department, which is why I'm very intrigued, and I'm waiting on pins and needles to get the results of this week or yesterday, because it's just something I think is going to be very telling about how live television it just presents itself differently. So I'm waiting on that. Does Vince McMahon give a crap about fans? Absolutely. He might not come off as that on television or whatever, but you got to remember there's a difference between a character and a human being. Vince is also a brilliant businessman. And, does the CEO of Coca-Cola care that, 50% of the people in the United States don't want to drink his product? He does, but is he going to go out of his way to change what got him to the dance and has made him billions upon billions of dollars? He might tweak it, but he's not going to completely change his business model. And no good businessman should. You adapt. You don't, completely remodel.
Well, we're not asking for a remodel. We're asking for him to adapt, which he refuses to do.
What do you want him to do? Tell me what you want to do. Let's just say I work for WWE, okay? And what do you want us to do, JD? What fixes the product? And don't tell me bad storylines and all that other stuff, because okay, that's valid sometimes. But what do you want to do? What needs to be changed?
Nothing he's going to do now is going to drastically change the product, because I do feel that people right now are just disenfranchised and disinterested in wrestling the way it is. Are they more open to AEW? Yeah, but the ratings don't show it. We all know the shows suck. Both AEW and WWE, it's not the same. We get it. One right now is doing better than the other. But my thing is, when things go back to normal, is Vince going to bring back a Brock Lesnar and give him a world championship? Is Vince going to go back to doing the same old shit? The ratings are going to go back to a 2.3, 2.4, and everybody's going to rejoice. Oh, WWE's back to the way the way that they were. The ratings are much better than they were, but they're not. That doesn't mean that they're still good. And the show is still going to be the formulaic way. It's still going to be the Vince McMahon way. and the show just needs a complete overhaul.
Yeah,
it really does.
Listen, I agree with you. Vince McMahon and WWE haven't had real competition in 18 years. I mean, sorry guys, but that's the truth. You might be Impact fans or Ring of Honor fans, and those are great wrestling organizations, but they're not competition. Now he has competition, but again, it's going to take something like a Hulk Hogan, and Chris Jericho did that, going over to AEW and really Vince McMahon opening his eyes. Competition brings out the best out of people. They've been able to coast for so many years because they still turn a profit, and their television product is what it is at times because there's nothing else out there. And they have billion-dollar contracts with Fox, and they have hundreds of $1 million contracts with USA. So WWE's not going anywhere. And listen, as a fan, I want better product. There's no doubt about that. And I'll speak to every single one of you when I say this. We deserve better. I get that. But they are using what they have. Brock Lesnar coming back. Brock Lesnar in AEW would draw huge numbers, and he'd be the world champion. I don't care what anybody says. You don't bring Brock Lesnar in to go put him down on the mid-card with Joey Janela or whomever. Or, I think Jungle Boy is going to be a fantastic star soon, but he's not a world champion yet. And I'm sorry, but if Brock Lesnar was on AEW Dynamite, he'd be front and center, and they'd be drawing millions more. So stop it. We all get tired of Brock, but Brock draws. Respect what he has. You all got tired of John Cena too, didn't you? John Cena, I can't stand him, blah, 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 and everyone wants him back. Get out of here.
He draws to an extent, but he's not the draw that he once was. And a drawing now is what? What do you consider drawing now? Like a 2.5, 2.6, 2.8? Well, what's a draw coming out of Brock Lesnar? It's only Vince McMahon admitting that he doesn't get behind any of his talent and goes back to what he knows, and that's fucking Brock Lesnar, who's 40-something years old.
Yeah, no, they need legitimate competition, which they have in AEW, but it needs to be, I think, off Wednesday and somewhere else where they have to build new stars. Everybody is 100% correct. They do need to build new stars. I think Austin Theory is going to be one of those guys. Killer Kross down the line is going to be one of those guys. They do need to build, because if they continue to do what they're going to do, they're going to run out of these legends. There's only so many times you can put The Undertaker, Goldberg, Lesnar, The Rock, all this other stuff. Daniel Bryan's at the end of his career soon, all that other stuff. They push Seth, they push Roman. So I do agree with you. They're going to have to push new stars. And I think that's something that Vince McMahon's been pretty reluctant on. So hopefully we're starting to see that. I hope that's the metamorphosis of everything that's happening, because he does need to push new stars. You're 100% correct. But he can't leave out guys like a Steve Austin. Like if we go back to 2000 and 2001, when Triple H was just getting his feet under him as a main event guy. If you guys haven't watched that Untold, go watch it. Austin was hurt. They had to make new stars. Roman's out right now. So now's your chance to make a new star. Make a couple new stars. We all love that SmackDown era with Heyman, Guerrero, the name I won't mention that ends with OIT. And RVD and Angle and Mysterio. Those were the great times, and Edge and Lesnar. So they need that. And hopefully we find that sooner rather than later.
Someone who I think that embodies is actually two of these guys in the opening match last night on NXT, Johnny Gargano and Dominik Dijakovic. Big fans of both of these guys, more so Johnny. I'm a big Johnny mark. Loving what he's doing as a babyface. Loving what he's doing right now as a heel. And adding Candice LeRae, I think, is a great asset to his act, and the fact that they're married only enhances it, because WWE in general is just about first time evers, and I could see them having another first time ever with Johnny and Candice ruling NXT pretty much. But this was the opening match. I had high hopes for this show going into it. It was built like a takeover show. It had a feel of a mini-esque takeover. This match was as close to a takeover than anything on this show last night, with Johnny beating Dominik Dijakovic in a great match. And how this thing came to be, it's all Johnny now playing up the fact that he is a heel on NXT, with LeRae getting involved and Johnny wanting to cheat, whereas before he didn't really have to do any of that stuff. But Gargano applied a sleeper on Dijakovic. Dijakovic escaped, and he came back with a big cyclone kick on Johnny. LeRae then interfered at one point, and Johnny countered a slam into a schoolboy on Dijakovic. Gargano held the trunks, tried to cheat, but Dijakovic kicked out. LeRae distracted the referee, so Gargano went to the turnbuckle pad and tried to take off the turnbuckle pad in the opposite corner. Gargano walked into a situation with Dijakovic. Dijakovic hit him with a sit-out choke slam, which looked great for a near fall. And Dijakovic then leveled Gargano with a super kick to follow. Gargano escaped feast your eyes. He used a Hurricanrana to send Dijakovic into the exposed turnbuckle. It wasn't a DQ. It should have not been a DQ. Gargano didn't really purposely do that. I love the way they played this off. Gargano then executed a slingshot DDT that he's calling now one final beat off that Tommaso Ciampa match, and he covered Dijakovic for a 3 count, and that was it. About 14 minutes in, and we got Johnny beating Dijakovic. What'd you think of this, and what do you think of Johnny's heel turn and heel run going on into the summer months?
Well, I have a question for you. Johnny Gargano wants to stay in NXT forever, right? Wasn't that his thing, or is that Tommaso Ciampa?
More so Ciampa, but I could see Johnny feeling the same way too.
Okay, so I think this is just a way to keep him fresh on NXT. I think it was welcomed. We all kind of got tired of the whole, superhero type of stuff with him, and I think this is a new side of him that I think is great. I love the match. I think Johnny Gargano is super talented. I think he'd be a star in WWE, AEW, Ring of Honor, wherever he wants to go, or whoever would have him. But Johnny Gargano is somebody who I would love to see the WWE get fully behind. But I think the NXT brand needs him more than WWE does right now. And I know it's the same thing, but
Dijakovic's got a big future in WWE. I mean, he's just great for a guy his size. The matches he put on with Keith Lee. What do you think of Dijakovic? And does he have something that Vince could ultimately use on the main roster? Hopefully.
Well, he's got everything that Vince McMahon would want. So I think it's just a matter of time. And I think putting him with Johnny Gargano and putting on that kind of wrestling show and clinic was something that won't go lightly over at WWE headquarters. So
what I liked about this, just to add one final note here, what I liked about this is Johnny, in his first heel turn, I guess, was kind of in between heel turns. He was still kind of a babyface, but he was also a heel at the same time. He didn't really cheat. It was always the same Johnny Gargano. And Johnny Wrestling, he was the technical wizard that he was in the ring. Now you can see that they're slightly starting to change his in-ring style. He's cheating a little bit more, playing up that heel factor. Is that going to, obviously, to me it is, but do you think that's going to benefit Johnny in the long run? And can you see him operating anything outside of that Johnny Wrestling moniker?
Yeah, I think Johnny Gargano's, with this whole character, it's either going to be sink or swim on his own, and as it is with most characters in WWE. But if Johnny can really find his footing here as a heel and first of all, you find fresh opponents, instead of just going against when he was a face, now he can go against all those guys and girls. So if he ends up in mixed tag matches or whatever. So yeah, I mean, Johnny Gargano has a big future as a heel, in my opinion. He had a great run as a face. How long was the run? 2.5 years? He's been there a while as a face, no?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much been, got to be 4 or 5 years now.
Right. So think about it. I mean, he did the whole tag team thing, and now he did the singles run as a face. So it was time. And hopefully, if this gets over as well, then, I mean, how is Johnny Gargano not a top star in any company?
Well, you say that, people think he's a vanilla midget. They label him as a vanilla midget and he'll never get over. But I mean, he's too good not to use. But I could see where people's worries come from, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're past the 70s, 80s, and even 90s where you have to be 6'6" and 300 pounds and muscle bound. I mean, Bret Hart broke that mold, even though he was jacked. Jericho, Michaels, Angle. I mean, come on, we could stop with the whole he's a vanilla midget. And Chris, I mean, I understand he might not sell out Madison Square Garden by himself because it takes two to work, but I don't know about that comment.
Well, they said the same thing about Daniel Bryan. I think he ended up pretty damn good for himself, right?
Yeah, he sure did. Daniel Bryan's probably one of the most over people in the company. When that whole, I was on the fence with the whole Yes movement. My favorite Daniel Bryan character was him in Ring of Honor as the American Dragon, and then when he did the whole Save the Planet before WrestleMania 35, thought it was brilliant.
Moving on here, man. Another group of guys that I really like are Imperium, Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner. They said that they are the most dominant tag team in NXT. Bartel pretended he couldn't remember Timothy Thatcher's name during this promo. Fabian Eichner added some basic, heel, I guess, additions to whatever Marcel Bartel was saying. I don't remember what he said. I didn't really take notes on it, but I was just engaged in what they were doing here with this promo. Very simple, black background. They, respect what happens in the ring. They are the ring generals. Very basic, but yet very simplistic and just top-notch promo by these guys. What do you think of Imperium? More importantly, Marcel Bartel and Fabian Eichner. To me, they are, I would say, NXT's version of what The Bar was for the main roster, Sheamus and Cesaro. I think they are the second coming of what they did on the main roster. What do you think?
I love Imperium, and I think Walter's your star, but I do think there's a lot of, other people in there who, like, you mentioned, I think are going to be probably breakout stars. And don't forget, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, JD, but isn't what's his face from Sanity over in Imperium right now? Or is he with NXT UK or something? So they're trying something new, and
Alexander Wolf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely love what they're doing with Imperium. I think it's great. I love the whole when they were going after Finn. I really wish we could see an Undisputed Era versus Imperium, like a big match, maybe a big feud, and maybe revisit that. But who knows? I think they all have the potential to be stars, but just like anything else, someone's going to get left by the wayside, and I don't think it's going to be Walter. So.
No, I think WWE needs to start getting behind tag team wrestling. These guys could be the leaders of that, but after listening to the Revival on Talk is Jericho, I doubt anything's going to happen with tag team wrestling. But I'll talk about that personally on the podcast.
How was that?
I have another 20 minutes to go. I didn't really listen to it. I listened to it in pieces yesterday, but it's pretty much all the same information that I kind of insinuated, and I kind of, pretty much came to my own conclusions. Nothing really groundbreaking there, but you can imagine why they were frustrated. It's all there. All you have to do is watch the TV shows and realize why they want it out. Nothing new.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Every time I've had an interaction with them, they were super nice, super cordial, and you could tell they have a legitimate passion for this business. I put up a tweet of, which I'm looking at, is my WrestleMania 12 collage, which I have the chair. I have 3 autographed pictures from Brett and Sean. And then I have my ticket stub and everything else. And Dawson liked it and wrote a comment under it. You could tell he's a wrestling fan. They both are. So I think that's very important when getting into the wrestling business, is being a fan. So I think they'll be okay.
They'll be fine. They got we talked about this when you were on the AEW podcast. They got plenty of competition lined up for them. Nobody's going to worry about them whatsoever. But we got the Cruiserweight Championship match here, or a tournament match rather, in Group B. Akira Tozawa versus Jack Gallagher, Gentleman Jack Gallagher. Were you surprised when he came out with these new tattoos and he's looking like a mini Conor McGregor coming out on NXT? I know he dabbled in MMA for a little bit, but I got to be honest with you, man. I prefer the old Jack Gallagher, even though he was labeled as, he was different. I'm gonna use that vanilla midget phrase because that's all the fucking goons on social media use that to describe someone like Jack Gallagher. But the old Jack Gallagher that I remember from the Cruiserweight Classic with the curly mustache and the bright trunks, that's a huge deviation away from what we've seen then to now. What do you think of Jack Gallagher's new look, and is it going to benefit him in the long run? Because I don't think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the whole ship tattoo that he has or whatever it is on his chest. I've seen it a couple times on 205 Live, and I've seen it. I mean, he's had it I think for over a month now. I don't understand the Conor McGregor. If that's what he's trying to do, I'm sure he'll never say that's what it is, but maybe he looks up to him. It's damn near similar. So I like the old Jack Gallagher too. I like the umbrella gimmick that they did at the Rumble. I thought that was fantastic, and I thought he had a lot of potential and a lot of charisma, but I'm not really too sure I like this fighter Jack Gallagher. So
what do you think about Akira Tozawa? I mentioned this on my Monday Night Raw review for the last 2 weeks. WWE's using Akira Tozawa on Raw. Apparently, Paul Heyman is a fan of Akira Tozawa from what I read. And then you got Akira Tozawa jobbing on Monday Night Raw, only to come back on Wednesday and go 2-0 in this tournament because he beat Jack Gallagher last night. And he's looking like a top contender for one of WWE's titles. But on Monday Night Raw, you would not even think he has a chance in this tournament the way that they're burying him. Why is there such a difference on both shows with the same guy? And why would WWE go and use him in that way when he is in this big interim round-robin tournament on NXT? Doesn't make sense to me.
Paul Heyman got Tajiri over, so maybe that's what he's, and Tajiri was a fantastic wrestler, and Tajiri never spoke. I mean, if you guys remember, I don't know how old some of you are that are in here, that were watching ECW, and to one of your comments, I don't know who it was, yes, I watch 205 Live every once in a while. I have a friend who wrestles on there, so yes, I do. It's called supporting your friends. You should try it. So yeah, I don't know what the hype is with Akira Tozawa, but I think he's super talented. And if Paul Heyman likes him, then obviously he sees something because Heyman is far superior in the wrestling business mentally than myself or you. And that's not a knock on you, but I mean, it's Paul freaking Heyman. So Maybe he's got something. He sees something that we don't. I don't know. I don't see it. Sorry.
I see it. I think Akira Tozawa is a great wrestler. I just don't really. My whole point is, I don't think he should be portrayed one way on one show and a completely different way on another. A loser on one and a winner on another. It doesn't really make him look good on NXT, because when you watch NXT, it makes it seem like, okay, this guy doesn't stand the chance. Like, I'm watching this guy get fucking squashed by Bobby Trashley on Monday night, and then I got to see him win in relatively easy fashion on Wednesday. To me, it doesn't make sense. But I mean, I'm one to nitpick, so who the fuck am I? You know?
The up and down the ladder, I understand it doesn't make sense. It's terrible. It's terrible booking. I understand that, and you're right. That from a, like, okay, let's have this guy get squashed on Raw and then go to NXT and win. It kind of makes NXT look far superior to Raw. I don't, or inferior to Raw. So I agree. The booking logic is not sound. But
well, he won. He beat Gallagher. Short match, about 4 minutes. We got a DDT on the apron, and Tozawa then capitalized with a senton off the top rope. Very, very quick. I mean, it's a tournament, so WWE had so much going on with this show that this seemed like, a little bit of an afterthought. So Tozawa gets the win. He goes to 2-0, and he's got Phantasma next in the tournament, which should be a good match. Hopefully they give those guys some decent amount of time. Not sold on Phantasma. I'm not sure if I asked you what your opinion was on him. I look at him and I see an absolutely small ceiling for him in WWE if he ever ventures past NXT.
Well, why do you think that?
Vince is going to push somebody in a mask? Not named Rey Mysterio.
Okay, all right. Yeah, you know what it's going to... The thing is that has bothered me for decades, well, not decades, for years is, and I said this to you, I said I love being invested in NXT. But then all of a sudden they get called up, and they being the talent that gets called up from NXT, example EC3, Bobby Roode, all this other stuff, and the WWE the main roster just tries to go a different direction with them, and to me it's very counterproductive. I loved what they were doing on NXT. Let's just keep it there, keep their character, bring it to the main roster. You could adapt a little bit and change, but they just kind of just go their own way, and then all of a sudden it's like they're gone, and it just sucks. You get so invested in a character and a brand, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, they're on Raw now, and they're gone. So
why do you think that? You know what my logic is behind that? I honestly think that Vince and his team are petty, and I think they are a bunch of blithering idiots on the main roster, because I've said it for years now. I've said it to LeBar. I've said it to everybody that I've met in person at these meet and greets, fucking conventions that I did with people. The NXT model is the way that it should be on the main roster. I don't give a shit if it's not going to generate the type of ratings that everybody's expecting. We're never going to see 5, 6, 7, 8 ratings again, but it's going to bring logic and continuity to the shows. It's going to bring a sense of realism and intensity to the shows, a serious nature. Fuck this sports entertainment shit. But I've always felt that the NXT model is the way that it should be, and I feel like when Triple H creates something down in NXT that's just great, that Vince can't wait to get his hands on it and fucking change it and kind of prove to his son-in-law like you ain't as good as everybody thinks you are type of mentality. Now, obviously, we won't see that or hear about that, but that's just the vibe that I get. I've always said Triple H creates and Vince McMahon ultimately kills everything that comes out of NXT unless he is completely sold on them, which is a rarity nowadays.
What do you think of Nakamura? Because Nakamura was kind of...
He's Japanese. Vince is going to push a Japanese non-English speaking individual on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown.
I mean, you know what? He did push Finn Balor and Samoa Joe and all this other stuff.
He pushed Finn Balor to an extent, and now Balor's looking better than he's ever looked on NXT. I can't wait to see more Finn Balor on NXT.
Yeah, I think the thing is that there's obviously... Vince McMahon is in a position because of his genius. I mean, Vince is a creative genius. We could all agree that
or was.
Well, I mean, that's your opinion. I think Vince is a genius. I think there's obviously, I mean, I would hate to have somebody critiquing every step that I make. I mean, that's just a business he's in, but I would hate it. And I would accept it, but I would hate it. But I do think Triple H is going to have a fantastic future if and when he does run WWE. But there's a lot of things that, again, WWE has to abide by that maybe Triple H doesn't have the same restriction. So I think at that point, yes. I mean, that doesn't entail creating stars, but Vince is going to want to let you do your thing, and he wants to see a vision through. So if you can't do that vision or excel at that vision that he has, which sometimes probably isn't the best, then you're going to find yourself at the bottom of the card. I mean, I just got a release here saying that WWE's coming out with like some merchant or like a memorabilia and toy show. You guys got rid of Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. Why would you do that? You could have put them on that show. There's some things I can't explain.
Well, it all goes back to why Zack Ryder was depushed and buried for the remainder of his career after he won the IC title and the US title and he got his YouTube show over. He got himself over and he was more popular than WWE had ever planned for him to be, and they buried him for it because he went out and did his own thing against their I guess itinerary or the plans that they had, and they punished him for it. That's just the way I see it. And then Zack Ryder, I read, he blamed himself. You're not to blame. You went out and wanted to be over, and Vince fucking killed you for it.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of people who in this chat or in life, will tell you that, you're an idiot or you're a moron or this or that. And you know what? At the end of the day, like Zack Ryder got out on his own, got over on his own. Name one guy that got over on his own that Vince, didn't try and, keep under the WWE umbrella, because you got to remember, once they become such a draw, Vince still wants you. And it's any business owner, guys. It's any business owner. If JD ran a business and he had a bunch of good people here, and let's just say one guy got super hot, super over, and went to go do movies, and then JD would still want him on his television show because JD wants to produce ratings. So once you start becoming so successful on your own, Vince is going to try and keep you there so he can keep the ratings. But the problem is that there's only one guy who's ever done that, and that's The Rock. I mean, everybody else has had to leave and go away and all this other stuff. So Vince wants you on his television. That's the problem. And he doesn't want you to become a megastar because then he can't control it. That's what's made him a billionaire, is being able to control. And do I think it's the best way to go about business in 2020? Probably not. But he's a billionaire and I'm not.
But if Vince is openly willing to kill people like Zack Ryder, and he's not the only one, it's happened to everybody. It's happened to Cesaro, Rusev, Jack Swagger, you name it. I mean, doesn't Vince see the money that those guys could potentially make? And instead of keeping them at such a small ceiling, let them flourish and see what they could possibly do. You might not know that you have the next guy. He's right under your nose.
You're right.
Everybody says the same thing about Cesaro. Everybody would fucking jump for joy and go crazy if Cesaro got a world championship match against a Brock Lesnar, And to see that match, to pay to see that match, they would.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Cesaro. I agree with you. I think there's the logic doesn't make sense. I've always praised you and how many, you have a fantastic following, and all of them, are fantastic people from the ones that I've met. I haven't met them all, but I've met majority of them. Obviously, you can't meet everybody, but they're good people. Your fans are good people. I think WWE has good people. AEW has good fans. But the problem is that, it's Vince's sandbox. I mean, I'd love to see Cesaro. What they're doing with Ricochet, I don't understand. There's just a lot of things I don't understand. But that's not for me to decide. If I had a pen and pencil, there'd be some different things in WWE, just like I think there'd be some different things for you as well.
Yeah, Monday Night Raw would be completely upside down. So would SmackDown. And I don't know, man. Ricochet's another story. I mean, they've just castrated him to a point where he don't even fucking look like he was 2-3 years ago. Not in last year, They brought him in as a house on fire, and now they got him wearing these little boy shorts. I mean, can you really get behind him? It's like they took his manhood away from him.
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing with that one. I mean, there's a lot of mistakes that, Vince McMahon and the WWE writers have made throughout the way, and everything's got to be greenlit by him. So I don't know. The WWE needs a lot of work, but there's a lot of things that people need to understand, and that it's really not going to change until something drastic happens. And I think you're starting to see that. So hopefully you guys continue to complain and everything else, and maybe you get the changes you guys want and deserve, which is if the ratings plummet, they're going to have to do something. So do I think WWE is doing a fantastic job right now? No, I do not.
Speaking of change, I remembered I was at the first All In show. That big show before AEW was even a thing. Chelsea Green was one of my standout performers for the entire night in a fatal four-way match that included Britt Baker and Tessa Blanchard. And Chelsea Green defeated Xia Li last night. I'm a fan of Chelsea Green. I think she has major potential, but I look at Chelsea Green and the evolution of her over the last couple of weeks to a couple of months, and I'm starting to see her kind of fall in line with the typical WWE, model of what a female should be, and it's slowly but surely turning me off to Chelsea Green. What do you think of Chelsea Green And where does she fit into the overall, I guess, feel of the NXT women's division, being that it's being held hostage right now by some android named Flair?
I like Chelsea Green. Again, I think it's her first real step into a character. And again, that's what these, women and men are portraying as characters, and they have to buy in, and hopefully they're giving her enough time, which is all you could ask for on television and through everything else, promo packages. I think she's talented. I think this is her first opportunity to sink her teeth into something, and I hope she shines, but we're gonna have to see. I'm not jumping on any sort of bandwagon right now with Chelsea Green, because I want to wait and see. You said you like her, or you're kind of...
I do. I'm a fan of Chelsea Green. I don't know what I feel like she's stuck in the middle of nowhere right now with this Robert Stone. I don't know what's going on with this, or if he's going to add anybody else to his little clique of females here, it looks like. But we got Xia Li continuing to lose. Aaliyah and Xia Li have been feuding. Nobody gives a shit. And it looks like now Aaliyah could possibly be joining Robert Stone. I mean, it's all irrelevant to me. It's just shit to keep these women busy. Really doesn't mean anything to me. Chelsea Green won in pretty much 1 minute, and she won with the I'm Prettier, which is the version that she does of the Unprettier, and that was pretty much it. We move on from that to what I think a lot of people were in love with as soon as he showed up on the stage, and that is Karrion Kross, a.k.a. Killer Kross. His entrance, dude, all I was thinking about was, A, Jesus Christ, are they fucking fully invested in this guy? B, imagine this in front of a live audience with Scarlett coming down, acting the way she did last night, just feeling the entire gimmick and singing the lyrics to his theme song, which was awesome. Full-on, complete goth metal last night. Not a fan of the genre of metal that is goth, but... my God, man, it was just red lights and fog machine, and God knows how long they practiced this entrance. They nailed every aspect of this, and all I thought about was, holy shit, do they got big plans for this guy, because that was a superstar-like entrance for the next big thing in NXT.
Yeah, I think he's ready to take over NXT whenever they're ready to give it to him. I think Killer Kross, or whatever they're calling him now, I think is going to be a huge star in WWE. I worry like you do when he gets called up to the main roster, but and I know, you're probably about, hopefully we're about 8 months from that. But I do think that he has the size that'll keep him where he needs to be on the WWE main roster. And again, to everyone in the comments, or the comments I've seen on Twitter and stuff like that, listen, guys, I'm with you. There's a lot of things that need to be changed in WWE, but you're beating a dead horse. Some things aren't going to change. Just thank God that Kross is the size that he is, because you won't need major changes with him, because he is set and ready to go, and that production was insane. I don't think I've seen that type of introduction since, Nakamura and Balor in NXT?
Yeah, no, I was saying Nakamura is a good comparison. Demon Finn Balor is an excellent comparison. He looks like an evil version of Aleister Black to me. I mean, it's got the whole goth metal smoke, death vibe going on, but I said last night on Twitter when I watched NXT back after I finished my AEW Dynamite review, I said, I give this guy 6 months in NXT, and then when Vince McMahon sees what Triple H is cooking up down here with these two, say goodbye to NXT for Mr. Kross. Because I was very on board with, you got to put him in NXT. Get him in front of the fucking audience, that is the WWE. Get him over. Do what you got to do with him. Recreate him, repackage him in your own image, and then see what happens. Last night, man, I still believe that, but that was something that really got my brain juices flowing. If you put that on SmackDown, or if you put that on Monday Night Raw and things were normal, dude, this guy would be the most over fucking thing on the entire roster. He came out looking like a main roster, main event player already, and he hasn't even wrestled a match yet.
Yeah, but again, I know everyone wants him. Put him on Raw and SmackDown, but I think the reason why they're doing this right now is they nail down exactly what they want with him. He gets his cues, he gets his timing, he gets everything. NXT will serve him very, very well, just like it served Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens, which was very short-lived, and Finn Balor and Nakamura very, very well as well. So I just think just give it a little time, and I think Karrion Kross is going to be a big star in WWE, just like Austin Theory, I think, will be too. And I think they kind of rushed him to the main roster, but hey, he's done well.
I think when Vince sees Scarlett, never mind Cross, when Vince sees Scarlett, being that he has an infatuation with blondes, he will say, you know what? Well, why aren't these two on the main roster? And then he'll proceed to break them up, and then she'll get pushed, he'll get buried, and it'll be the same shit all over again. But I pray to God not. But do you see him as a NXT champion in this run down at Full Sail? And if so, how long does it take? Or do you see him having his feud with Ciampa and then goodbye to the main roster?
No, I think Kross will definitely have a run as NXT champion. I think he'll probably be very dominant. I hope they do this at SummerSlam weekend at NXT TakeOver. I think it should be that soon. He can have 2 months. I think Ciampa needs to. I know he doesn't want to, and I know fans would be upset about it, but how much I love Tommaso Ciampa, and I think he's a fantastic star, but I think it's time to go to the main roster and find yourself with some dream opponents for yourself, which might take a while to get. But I think that, Kross needs to be pushed right to Adam Cole. And I know we're going to talk about Adam Cole and Velveteen Dream, but I think Kross is your guy.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because I was actually not surprised they did not take... Well, actually, I was not surprised about the outcome that we seen with Cole and Velveteen Dream. I was actually very pleased with the outcome because I don't think Velveteen Dream is A, ready, and B, I don't want him to win that match in that situation for that title in this circumstance that we're in right now. But I might as well mention it now. If Dream does get his rematch against Cole, do you see Kross taking the belt off Cole or Dream? Because I would not want Adam Cole to be dominated by somebody like Kross, who obviously is going to have, like you said, a very dominating reign if he does get that type of push.
No, I don't think I can't see, and I think Velveteen Dream's talented, but I just don't think he's going to be the main focal point of NXT. I think Adam Cole is going to continue to dominate until SummerSlam weekend. I think that's when he loses the championship. If he does lose it to Dream, then so be it. But I think Adam Cole is probably on his way to the main roster sooner rather than later. And I think I really want Kross in that position. I think Ciampa's a fantastic person to put as the NXT champion, and you could do that and then have Kross and Ciampa. But if it's me, I would put Kross there and have a little feud with Kross and Ciampa. That way he could work with them. Have Ciampa debut with WWE at the Royal Rumble, and Kross maybe after WrestleMania. And maybe they hold on to both of them for a while because after that, basically Triple H has nobody, and they don't want to keep playing the send up, send down game. So I don't know. I don't think Velveteen Dream is going to ever hold that NXT World Championship, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I am too. I'm with you. I don't want to see too many. I don't think they're going to do that now anyway, where they're going to purge NXT. Honestly, I think Ciampa is going to stay because he doesn't want to go. He said he'd actively retire if he was ever called up to the main roster. Gargano's not going anywhere. I do see the Undisputed Era eventually getting called up, and that is 4. And then from there, I could see the Keith Lees and the Matt Riddles and the Damian Priests and the Dominik Dijakovics. But we'll see what happens. It's all a guessing game. When Vince likes something, he likes something, and we could all be wrong, and he could pull Kross up before everybody and just call it a day. But he won. He had a 1-minute squash against Leon Ruff from Evolve, who's obviously been their number one jobber. He's been selling like crazy for everybody. And he sold this like a champ. Cross jacket finish, and that was it for Kross. Eventual superstars here with Scarlett and Kross. Can't wait to see what they do next, but it was a unbelievable showing in his first night on NXT. We got Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher. Riddle was serious as he says he is welcoming all the challenges, especially from the Imperium guys. Thatcher said, you knock him out and I'll tap him out, and we got a match for next week between Imperium and Riddle and Thatcher. Now, I wanted to throw this by you. Obviously, this is a makeshift tag team that I don't think is going to be a solid thing. Do the Bros lose the tag team titles to Imperium, which then causes Pete Dunne to come back to the States, blame it on Riddle, and then we get Pete Dunne turning heel and going against Matt Riddle?
Beautifully said. I have nothing to add. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's what I would
All right,
do.
well, there
That's
you
why
go.
we get along. I would have Imperium 100% take the titles off of Matt Riddle and Timothy Thatcher, and I would 100% have Riddle versus Pete Dunne. Yes, I love it.
There you go. Look at that, folks. Easy booking. Charlotte, what's not easy booking is Charlotte Flair. This is fucking awful. I'm going to tell you right now. The match... Listen, we'll get into the Charlotte the Charlotte stuff here. Because I'm not a big fan of Charlotte. I think she came off the conveyor belt and needs a fucking firmware update, but that's just me. Io Shirai and Charlotte Flair. This was a match that I was intrigued by, but I was very iffy because of how WWE is handling Charlotte Flair. They're booking her worse than Roman Reigns could possibly ever be booked. And I mean that in a good way for them. But we got this match, and I was not really pleased with what I seen. I thought it was very rushed. I thought they tried to do too much in very little time. It went nearly 11 minutes, but these women, if they really wanted to, they could probably give us a match of the year candidate. Io Shirai wins by disqualification. Really nothing of note that happened here in this match that I really want to touch upon outside the ending. I was surprised that they protected Io Shirai in this situation. I was absolutely in the boat of WWE feeding Io to Charlotte, because why not? That's what they've been doing. And it looks like we got Rhea Ripley back at Full Sail. She's throwing her name into the hat again. And with Charlotte getting herself disqualified, what do you think this does for the overall NXT Women's title picture? Does this mean triple threat? Or does this mean Rhea Ripley and Io first, and then Rhea Ripley beats Io, and then goes to Charlotte, and then takes the title off of Charlotte? Which way are they going?
There you go. Again, I think that was brilliant. I think they could I like the Rhea versus Io, and then winner gets Charlotte. They could do a triple threat. I think Charlotte's probably going to be down in NXT, or I shouldn't say down. She's going to be in NXT for probably the next 3 months. I think she's sent there to help ratings. It's also easy travel schedule, et cetera, et cetera. So I just think that's probably why they're doing that. I think NXT knows that AEW is real competition. So they're, Finn Balor's there, Charlotte's there, et cetera, et cetera. But I thought the match was what the match was. I think Charlotte Flair, and this is my hill to die on. I think Charlotte Flair is a very, very good wrestler. I don't think she's the best ever. I think she has the potential, and I don't think it's because her last name is Flair. I think Charlotte is very good, and the reason why, in my opinion, she's the best is because the other person who I think is right there with her isn't currently wrestling, and that's Sasha Banks. So you could berate me all you want, but when's the last time Sasha had a match? I mean,
when was the last time Sasha had a good match is a better question.
Sure.
They haven't done anything. They haven't put her in there with anybody credible.
Absolutely. And I was there for the Charlotte Banks Iron Woman match, and I thought it was fantastic. And that's the thing. Charlotte can work with pretty much anybody, and so can Sasha. But Sasha needs to stay healthy. Or if she's not if she is healthy and they're not using her, then get the heck out of there, Sasha. Get out. That's all I can tell you. Do
you think that I mean, this is a very subjective thing on social media. You're gonna have your fucking cretins on social media, but defending Charlotte and having her beat Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania be a good decision. I thought it was a terrible decision. I thought Rhea Ripley should have beaten Charlotte at WrestleMania. I don't think Charlotte's going to add any difference whatsoever to NXT. In fact, I actually think it's doing the opposite. Ratings were as low as they ever were for Charlotte's segment last week against Mia Yim. She's doing nothing for the division. I don't see how putting the title on Charlotte and having her feast on the entire division is good for the overall health of the women's division, because when Rhea Ripley, and the point I tried to make was when Rhea Ripley eventually takes that title from Charlotte, Rhea Ripley's going to have nobody in the division that's strong to go up against as a challenger for her title, because Charlotte would have feasted on all of them already. How is this, and why is this a good decision in your opinion?
Well, they didn't really have anybody. I mean, besides Rhea and Iro, I mean, who else do they have in NXT right now that, is a legitimate? I mean, that women's division was gutted, and everyone's been called up or they're not there anymore. I mean, they needed a star power, and Charlotte definitely brings that star power. The ratings right now, I really can't justify anything because they are what they are. And I think it's unfortunate because maybe you see, I don't know, maybe Charlotte brings an extra, 50, 60,000 people to watch. Who knows? That's a guess at best. But I think Charlotte's not going to be there for a long time. And, once she goes, you're right. They need to build somebody. Everyone wants to talk about how Vince McMahon's, falling asleep at the wheel at times like that. Okay. Triple H has done a very good job of plug and place, and I think that he's going to need to do this with the women's division sooner rather than later. And maybe it's Chelsea Green, 3 months, 4, 5, 6 months from now. Who knows? But Rhea Ripley's not getting called up, and she should be NXT champion. So I guess, time will tell on that one. But who do you see becoming the face of the NXT women's roster?
I am not really sold on Rhea Ripley, to be quite honest with you. I think her losing to Charlotte took a lot of that out of me. I think that one creative decision kind of ruined it for me. I don't see anything at Chelsea Green right now. Candice LeRae looks better than she's ever looked in NXT. There really isn't anybody there since they called up Shayna and Bianca. Bianca was my girl there, but now she's on Monday Night Raw, and hopefully she gets treated the right way up there. You know, I'm very high, incredibly high on Toni Storm. I think she has the look of what they're looking for down there. I think she's got the in-ring style that they're looking for down there to be a face of the division. She could be the face of the Monday Night Raw or SmackDown division. That doesn't really matter. But if they need somebody, I honestly think Toni is the one. And it makes me wonder, even now, talking about this, why they even got rid of Deonna Purrazzo. She was looking for an opportunity. This would have been a great opportunity to just plug her in there because she's an excellent hand. And they just wasted her away. And then she went on some podcast saying that she never got the opportunities to show them what she was made of.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know what? I think Candice LeRae is somebody who I would, put some stock in and maybe invest in that one because I think that she could definitely be the face of the women's division. And you mentioned her, so I agree with you.
Dakota Kai's another one. I don't know how you feel about Dakota Kai. They got Mercedes Martinez as well. There's some women down there, but right now, I guess everybody, like you said, they're working shorthanded. They're not everybody's there.
I don't understand. I'm so happy for Bianca Belair, but I would have liked her on NXT for another 5-6 months and had her have a reign. I don't know what the rush was to get her up there besides being with her husband, which I love that for them. But I would have kept her in NXT for a little bit.
Yeah, me too. I would have actually had her go up against Rhea one more time, and really tease winning that championship and then get called up. But, like I said, I feel like Charlotte winning the championship kind of took a lot of wind out of everybody's sails coming out of WrestleMania. It was just a shitty creative decision, and I can't really sit here and understand why people justified that decision. It's not helping anybody to me, but...
Well, and to your point, JD, when she won the Royal Rumble, I said to myself, great, because there were rumors about her and she's going to go to NXT and all this other stuff. And then when she said she's going to challenge for the NXT championship, I was just kind of like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, and I know they're trying to build it up, and I understand they want to build the brand as equal and all that other stuff, but that was the only thing that in Charlotte, in her thing, why not have, why didn't give Shayna Baszler or give it to Ronda if they could have worked an agreement with Ronda? The Charlotte thing, I think they were just trying to swerve everybody, or Sasha Banks. She could have won the Royal Rumble too. I just don't understand why you went with Charlotte and then had her go to NXT with the Royal Rumble win. She could have just went there however she wanted to. I just didn't understand that booking at all.
So I want to kind of touch upon a point that you made earlier. You said Vince McMahon is not really paying attention or doesn't care about AEW. Then why did he have Charlotte win the Royal Rumble if he wasn't worried about AEW? Wait a minute. You're not...
I said...
there you go. Drew accidentally muted his microphone, folks. I'm sorry.
Which is probably to the enjoyment of much of your thing.
I'm like, what's going on? What did I press?
When we're talking about Charlotte Flair. But I think that, there is a person who does watch AEW, and I'm sure Vince does and cares about what AEW is doing, and that is Triple H. And I think Triple H kept seeing what was happening. And they just released a whole pool of talent. So if you don't think AEW is going to snatch some of those guys, you're crazy, because they will. But I think Vince and Triple H probably sat down and he said, how can I get a bigger star to NXT to see if we could pop some ratings and beat AEW? And they said, all right, have Charlotte win the Rumble. To me, I just didn't understand it. NXT should be what it is. I didn't like Finn Balor going back down there, but I mean, it served well for his career because he was doing nothing.
All right, looking back at it, we'll make this the final point. Being that you're talking about Charlotte winning the Royal Rumble, like you didn't understand it. What do you think of Shayna Baszler not winning the Royal Rumble and then not beating Becky Lynch at WrestleMania? Do you agree with that decision, or did you think it was fucking stupid like I thought it was?
Yeah, I thought it was stupid. I'll just be blunt with that. I thought it was dumb, and I think this Sunday we'll all be justified. I think Shayna Baszler is going to win the Money in the Bank, and I think hopefully she finally takes that belt off Becky Lynch. I don't understand why Becky beat her at WrestleMania. I don't.
Well, listen, I honestly think it's going to be the right decision, but is it going to be too little too late? Shayna's already been buried. To me, I don't want to throw the word buried around, but I feel like Shayna looks fucking irrelevant on Monday Night Raw. I'm just going to flat out say it. She looks nothing like she looked in NXT.
Well, that's 100% correct, but I think after the Elimination Chamber stuff, and how she had a dominant performance there, and they built her up to be this killer. Then all of a sudden we got hit with all this COVID-19 thing. And if you don't think that the WWE and the writers and even AEW listens to the fans' reaction on who's getting over and who's not, then you're sorely mistaken. And they don't have any of that. They don't. I mean, what are they going to go by? What people are saying on social media? No. I mean, because there's so many trolls in social media. So it's tough to make a judgment call on somebody. But I don't think it's too little too late if she could dominate the Money in the Bank and look strong. And then she needs to beat Becky quickly. Maybe play an injury angle or something with Becky where she breaks her arm or something. And then she's right back to where she needs to be.
Well, I feel like that's coming on Monday after the Money in the Bank. Hopefully we'll get a title change, but who knows how long WWE is going to keep that title on Becky. I think her days are numbered, and rightfully so. I would actually love to see another Bianca versus Shayna Baszler match, coming out of NXT in their history. I think they put on some decent matches that could carry that women's division and bring it back to some sort of relevancy, because right now I'm not liking anything that's happening over there. Nia Jax, Liv Morgan, Asuka, yeah, it's fine, but Nia Jax and Liv Morgan aren't really setting the world on fire over there. So.
No, and I think Asuka would have been a prime candidate to go to NXT, but she can't. There's no way. I think she needs to stay where she's at because she's one of the best things going in that division, women-wise.
And apparently Vince is very high on her for her being a helping hand during this entire thing, so it's only good for her. But moving on here, man, Kushida versus Jake Atlas. This one went 3 minutes. If there's one thing I hate is having a tournament match go 3 minutes, but like I said, they had a lot lined up for this show. Loaded show last night. Not sold on Jake Atlas. I didn't really get a chance to talk about him much. Apparently he's breaking barriers. Not really getting into why they're putting that out there. It could mean anything. I know why they're doing that, but I just wish that they would come out and say why he's breaking barriers and not kind of pussyfoot around it. I'm not sold on him. I think he looks very generic. I don't know where he came from. Quite honestly, I don't care where he came from. Kushida won the right one here. 3 minutes, and he won with the hoverboard lock for an immediate tap, and that was it. What do you think of Jake Atlas, and does Kushida win this entire tournament?
Well, I like Jake Atlas. Kushida winning the whole tournament, I'm not sure on. I think maybe he was, this is, again, an opinion. Maybe he was promised something because he was very highly touted and very sought after. And I don't understand the whole Back to the Future stuff that he has going on. He looks like Marty McFly when he comes out. So I don't understand.
I'm waiting for the New Japan goons to now shit all over you.
Well, I think Kushida in New Japan was fantastic, but what is this gimmick? You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I get what you're trying to say. They don't put any. They tried to and then they stopped. They don't put any effort into building anybody up with video packages like they used to do. Like, look at the Jeff Hardy shit. We should be seeing that with all upcoming new talent in WWE. Every single week, a video package, 3 or 4 minutes on television to get you invested. They don't do that.
But the reason why he gets that is because he's a WWE created talent.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, look at what AEW does with that, NFL kind of vibe with their stuff. That was fantastic. And I could care less about their women's division, besides Britt Baker. But man, I was like, okay, this is excellent. That's what used to sell me on pay-per-views back in the day, was those promos with Todd Pettengill and everybody else, Doc Hendricks, whomever, Michael Cole. It was like a real fight feel. Go back to that. Please, WWE. Go back to it, because AEW is capitalizing on it, and you're going to miss the boat.
Yeah, I agree. And what WWE has not missed the boat on is rebuilding Finn Balor. Finn Balor has looked absolutely incredible on NXT. I'm in love with his intensity and the way he delivers his promo. He sounds legit. I want to see big things from Finn Balor on NXT. And he was standing in front of a podium on the stage. He said that he used to think the biggest snakes in this company were in the suits. They still are, bro. They still are. But maybe not. He said, you attack the big man, you get the big push. He said to whoever attacked him, the push you're expecting, it won't be a push. It'll be a squash. I loved this intensity here by Balor. I love the fact that he used the word push, because you don't usually see that type of verbiage on WWE TV. I'm interested to know who it is. I have an inclination as to who it is. But who do you think attacked Finn Balor? And what do you think of his intensity and the way his character has really been on an upward swing on NXT? I think it's Dexter Lumis. I honestly think they're going to do Dexter Lumis versus Finn Balor.
I was just going to ask you who you think it is, and I agree with you. I do think it's Dexter Lumis. And I think I've loved what Finn has done down, over at NXT. So I really wanted a Finn and Walter match, and I thought we might get that at TakeOver, and we didn't because of all the circumstances. But I think that I really want to see that. I think they should really go back to the whole Imperium thing. And there's a lot of unfinished business, and I really do enjoy Finn Balor and what he's doing there. And you never know. Maybe Finn Balor gets a run at the NXT Championship. I mean, it seemed like they haven't put him there yet, but I would love to see Finn versus Keith Lee, too, for the North American Championship.
Oh, absolutely. I think that would tear the house down.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that is it seems like a lot of people who love NXT are big independent wrestling fans, and I understand why, or outside of the U.S. wrestling fans, and I understand why, because there's a lot of good talent there. And, I mean, WWE cherry-picked a bunch of them, almost shut down New Japan. So Finn Balor versus Keith Lee has my full attention and money. I know, again, this is a WWE show, but what do you think of this Double or Nothing main event with Jon Moxley and Brody Lee? I'm sure you touched on it, but I didn't hear your opinion because I got kids and I didn't get to watch the show yesterday. So what do you think?
Yeah, man. I talked about this with my buddy Jesse last night. We didn't really understand when we were watching why they went with that decision. I know we were texting back and forth during the show, and you mentioned something about another AEW main event with two ex-WWE guys. You got Jon Moxley and a.k.a. Luke Harper here, Brody Lee, in the main event, which I find to be funny. But I also look at it as a positive thing because these were two guys that were fucking buried on WWE television, and I'd love to see this just kind of blow up in WWE's face. Like, you missed out on these guys, and now they're main eventing your rival promotion's fucking second biggest show of the year.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Is there any way that Brody could lose here? I can't see it. I can't. I can't
see it, but I honestly want to think that AEW is smarter than that, because if this was WWE, they'd probably have Jon Moxley lose the championship. I honestly don't want to say that AEW booked themselves into a corner. I don't want to bring up the fucking comparisons that I see about Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt and Hell in a Cell, because this is mirroring that to a T. It's too soon, too quick, not really necessary. A lot of people were shitting on me and Jesse last night on the podcast saying that, he's in the top 5 for rankings in AEW. That includes Lance Archer, Cody, and Kenny Omega. Now, out of a process of elimination scenario, can't be Omega because he's the tag team champion. Probably going to be defending the titles at Double or Nothing with Paige. I hope so. Cody's in there with Lance Archer for the TNT championship. So by process of elimination, it's Brody Lee. But he hasn't beaten anybody of note. I think the biggest one that he's beaten is Marco Stunt, and Marco Stunt's a loser. And I don't really get how they're going to book themselves out of this unless it's a time limit or a situation where we see some sort of surprise. And I don't know who that could be, whether it's new Dark Order members, whether it's a DQ by a Dark Order member. I don't know. I would not advocate for taking the title off of Jon Moxley, but you're pretty much asking yourself or putting yourself in a situation, I got to give this title to Brody without fucking Moxley over. How do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know. And the comment was Brody's top 5 in the company right now?
Yeah, he's in the top 5 rankings. Yeah, he's undefeated, but he's beaten nobody of note. And by process of elimination, he's the only one in the top 5 that is actually able or capable of having a world championship match.
I love Brody Lee, and I like the gimmick that they're doing with him right now, but he's not top 5 in AEW's company.
Well, not yet anyway.
No, but and this will be a good showing. If they put the rocket onto him with this one, giving him the title, man, they're not to. I mean, I know it sounds cheesy, but they are all in, huh? On Brody.
Yeah, like I mentioned to you when we talked last about the AEW stuff when you were on the show. I mentioned the Ascension. I think that's a great addition to the Dark Order. Eric Rowan, I see some people in the comments mentioning Eric Rowan, but Eric Rowan's got a 90-day no-compete, so he won't be available. I don't know what they do. It's going to be a wait-and-see game, but, Brody Lee was one of the people that we collectively came up with as a possible name, and now it's happening, and now I just don't know what's going to happen, and I think it's just one of those situations where we got to sit, watch, enjoy, and hopefully they don't fuck it up.
EC3.
He's got a 90-day no-compete as well.
I know, but I'm saying that the stuff that he's been doing on Twitter, man. Whew.
Oh, him and the Revival have been teasing something.
Yeah, I'm telling you. I think those 3 are going there. So
we'll see what happens, man. Double or Nothing should be a must-see show. I just hope they do the right thing. Depending on the circumstances, just looking at the shows, NXT, WWE in general, AEW, I think AEW is more in the way of doing things right compared to what WWE does, so I have a little bit more faith in them, so we'll see. And if they don't get it right, obviously I'm going to shit all over it like I usually do. I'm not going to, sit here and be biased towards one show over the other. So,
you know what? That's the good thing about you is you're super refreshing with stuff like that. Sometimes I think you you are very much against WWE, but I think that's because, and I think it's a very informed audience at times. It's because JD loves wrestling and he loves the WWE just as much as he loves anything else, but he might not like what they're putting out right now.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to. That's the beautiful thing about professional wrestling. You don't have to.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the same way too. I mean, you want some logic, sense, and some just direction on these shows, and we're not getting that.
Yeah, and you know what? This Monday, I could tell you that was one of the worst Monday Night Raws I've seen in a long time, and the ratings reflected that. But I don't know. There was like one or two things that stood out to me, and that was it. AJ Styles was fantastic, but then after that, I mean, after the Street Profits match, you could shut it off.
Yeah, well, I still think they kind of botched AJ Styles' return. I didn't like that at all. That whole fucking match didn't make any sense, and. I could sit here and shit on Monday Night Raw for hours on end, but the ratings, like you said, it warranted the show, and it was ultimately deserved, in my honest opinion, to be fair. But moving on here, we got Cameron Grimes, quick 22-second squash over Denzel Dejournette. He sounds like he should be next to the Heinz Mustard down aisle 7 and Stop and Shop, but that was a quick squash. He got him with the cave-in. That was pretty much it. After the match, he took the microphone and said that times are changing around here. It's grime time, which I kind of cringed at. He said he deserves better than this. He said Finn said if you wanted to be at the top, you come for him. He said someone must have beat him to it because of obviously Finn Balor getting attacked. He said he'd go right to him and right into his face. So I love that Balor just randomly just strolled down the stage, down the ramp, into the ring without Grimes knowing. And he's looking at him like, you fucking ass. Are you really talking shit about me? I was just out here 5 minutes ago. And Grimes turns around. He says he was going to slap Balor in the face if he's seen him face to face. Obviously, Grimes didn't do that. Grimes then went for a cheap shot knowing that Balor was standing right behind him. And he got hit with a double stomp, a sling blade, and Grimes, after talking a big game, showed everybody and showed the world how big of a pussy he is by not doing what he just said to everybody on the microphone. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Finn Balor kind of came down the ramp like, who are you talking to? Like, do you know who I am? And I think that's perfect. That's how it should be. And I like Grimes. I don't like that catchphrase. It's grime time.
Yeah.
No.
Thanks.
But you're talented, Grimes. You are. So just stick with that and get a new catchphrase. But you have a lot of potential here. So.
You've been watching NXT. You've seen Grimes before all this C19 stuff happened, how big that Triple H was on Cameron Grimes. They were pushing him, possible North American Championship run. Do you think that the C19 stuff has, I guess, kind of derailed his push a little bit? Because this is the first time we've seen him in a while back on NXT.
Well, I think it's a lot of start and stop with a lot of talent because some talent can't get to the U.S., some talent can't travel if they're in the U.S., et cetera, et cetera. So I think we're finally starting to see the restrictions kind of be lifted. And everybody should do with that as they may. If you're uncomfortable, don't go. If you're uncomfortable with grocery shopping or traveling, fine, so be it. Take care of yourselves first. And I think that's what the WWE and AEW has done. So there's been a lot of start and stops. And now I think you're going to see storylines, pushes, and confrontations come to fruition here. And I think that's what you're getting with Grimes. So
moving on here, man. Finally, we got Adam Cole and the Velveteen Dream in the main event of NXT last night. Dream did not capture the title. Adam Cole wins with a bunch of silliness at the end of this thing. This one was 10 minutes, and if this was on an actual TakeOver show, I feel like these guys could have went 20, 25 and really delivered a really nail-biting effort. I feel like they tried to put a TakeOver match on regular TV, and they tried to rush through it, and that's why we got the 10-minute match that we did. But there was a lot of moving parts here towards the end of it. We got a last shot, and then Cole dumped Dream to the apron. We got Dream on the floor. He went up and got hit with a super kick, landed in a heap on Adam Cole. Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish came down to the ring, and what I loved was the ending where Dexter Lumis just fucking crawled out from underneath the ring. His slithering is absolutely fantastic. One of my favorite things on NXT right now is Dexter Lumis and Finn Balor. Dexter Lumis probably number one to me right now. Slithered out from underneath the ring. The referee got taken out at this point. Dream hit a purple Rainmaker for a pin with the referee down. Nobody was there to make the count, obviously. Dream woke up the referee. Then from the top rope, he cleared out Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong on the outside, who were the reasons why he didn't get the title victory, who were still fighting Loomis on the outside. Cole then recovered with a last shot, and that was it, with Adam Cole winning in about 10 minutes. What do you think of Dream not winning the championship? Does it have to do with the allegations being brought against him, why they didn't fully commit to him? Or is it a situation where if those allegations were not even a thing, would we have still seen the same outcome that we've seen tonight? And where do you see Dexter Lumis fitting into all this? Because I honestly feel like he could have been playing both sides, but it more looks like he is in favor of being a babyface and fighting the Undisputed Era. I don't know.
Yeah. With the whole Dream stuff and the allegations, I think you might be onto something with that. Maybe they don't go with him right now because of it. And if it's me, it's something against the Velveteen Dream, but I don't think he needs the championship. He could go to the main roster and still use that character. I mean, Vince and the writers over there know what they're going to do with him. I mean, you're not going to change that character. I mean, I guess I hope not, but it's basically, Goldust 2.0 with a little bit different here or there. I don't think they want to take the title off Adam Cole. I think he should have a reign until, like I said, SummerSlam NXT Takeover. And then with Loomis, yeah, I think the Undisputed Era, maybe he has a 3-on-1 or maybe a gauntlet match, and tries to get a world title shot, if he could beat the other guys and then gets to Adam Cole. I don't know. I wasn't too, the match was good. But again, I think Adam Cole's one of my favorite wrestlers in the world right now. Him and Dream, they put on a good match, but it wasn't something where I was like glued to, like I was, I know this is again a WWE show, but I was very much glued to that AEW main event. So I had to rewatch NXT.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, AEW just hit it out of the ballpark with that street fight. I just don't think the Dream, like you said, I don't think he needs the championship. I don't think he needs it. On top of that, I don't think he's really ready for that. I've always envisioned him going after a Keith Lee or, feuding over that North American championship. I just don't see, especially with the current situation. I think the current situation that we're dealing with is kind of pulling me away from Dream being a world champion. I think if things were normal and the way that they should be, I would probably be saying something else. But I think Dream moving on from this is probably best. And now with the addition of Karrion Kross and Tommaso Ciampa probably getting back into the world championship picture, and then maybe Finn Balor going after it, I think this was a one-off. I do think the uncertainty of the allegations did play a factor in this. And like you said, Adam Cole is probably one of the best in the world, probably one of the best in all of WWE as well. And I don't think you should take the title off him. I really don't. I mean, he's the guy. He's been the guy, and there's no reason for you to take the championship off him because he hasn't shown you anything but excellence. And you always keep the I always say you keep the championship on the best guy, and Adam Cole's the best guy in that company. Yeah,
were you with me at NXT when he debuted?
For what? What year was that?
Takeover Adam Cole. I don't remember what year it was, but man, that place came unglued when he came through the crowd.
Oh, that was in Brooklyn. I might have been. I don't remember.
But I mean, that place came unglued.
Yeah.
So you knew he was over right then and there, and then he's continued to put on good match after good match after good match. And if you want to call somebody that term that your people want to use here, that vanilla midget, I mean, Adam Cole is not a big man, but man, he could deliver very highly in that ring. So.
Yeah, hopefully that gets him to a point where he needs to be with Vince McMahon. I mean, a lot of comparisons to Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels has a big hand in helping Adam Cole develop. So hopefully that trust in Shawn and, the style that he works and all the comparisons really shine on the main roster. If not, I mean, that is the huge fucking loss for them. And you can't afford to have someone like that leave your company and then go to AEW,
He'd be a world champion in AEW
no question.
3-4 months. I mean,
no question. He'd be fucking the most over guy in the world if he goes to AEW. But that's the NXT review. We got a bunch of questions here, man. If you don't mind another 10 minutes or so to answer these questions.
I've got as much time as you, JD.
All right, cool. We got Sean Planet Stasiak, 199. Happy Alexa Bliss is a 7-time champion and Money in the Bank winner. I am not happy with your comment, but thank you for the $2 donation, bro. CC Steven, $2. Hi, JD. How would you book AEW's women's division? I don't really know. I think Nyla Rose right now is, she's coming along. She's not everybody's, cup of tea, but I'm big on Hikaru Shida. I'm big on Chris Statlander. Where do you see them going with the AEW women's division? Does Nyla Rose lose the championship at Double or Nothing, or does she remain the native beast in AEW?
Yeah, she's going to retain the title at Double or Nothing, but I'm waiting for Britt Baker to take over that division. That's what I'm waiting for.
So you think Nyla Rose is just a bench warmer for the championship?
No, I think that she's probably going to be a focal point. When they signed Karma or whatever they're calling her, is that what are they calling her now? I can't remember.
It was Awesome Kong.
Yeah, Awesome Kong, right. So that was what she was before she was Karma. I thought she would be a main player, and I wish she was, because that's another, that match and her running that division would be great. But I think it's going to be Britt Baker, and if I was running the division, I would probably try and get as much out of Karma as I can, or Awesome Kong, and I would try and Britt Baker push them into the moon there.
I would say, just to add to that, sign Deonna Purrazzo and make sure you guys keep an eye on Tessa Blanchard when she's a free agent this summer, because if AEW is not going to offer her money, I think that's a huge missed opportunity. But moving on from that, we got Steve Wynyard, 5 pounds. Karrion Kross debut was awesome. I cannot help myself but invest in him, as he is right up my street, but Vince will likely kill, as always, when demoted. Because I usually say when you're called up from NXT to Raw, it's a demotion.
Who is he talking about?
Karrion Kross.
Oh, come on. The only person that could derail Karrion Kross is Karrion Kross. That's it.
Well, we'll see, man. You give too much faith in good old Vinnie Mac over there. I don't know.
It's different than when, okay, like let's just use Finn, even though Finn was pushed to the moon. Finn is a smaller man in stature, but it's different with Karrion Kross. He checks all of the proverbial Vince McMahon boxes. So I think he'll be okay unless something happens with him. So, and
like I said before, guys, when he gets an eye full of, I was going to say Charlotte, Jesus Christ. Well, there's really no difference. They're blonde and big-breasted, but as soon as he gets an eye on Scarlett, he's going to be like, okay, I could do something with this. So we'll see don't really jump to conclusions about him leaving yet. Let's have him do what he's got to do in NXT first, and then we'll worry. But we got Matt Eagle, 199. Cross debut entrance was epic. Yes. We all know that. Thank you for the donation, man. JP, $51.50, $5. Big fan of your work, JD. Karrion Kross had a killer debut. Yes, he did. Your friendly neighborhood Smark, $5 super chat. Thank you, man. NXT is back, baby. Not just on this channel, but in terms of quality as well. Just wait until fans come back. I can't wait. Justin Alba, $5 super chat. Was not a fan of all the BS finishes on NXT last night. It was a little too main rostery for me, but NXT I have faith in because they tell a good story, so I really wasn't bothered by that whatsoever. We got Dodger Ryan, $124, $5 super chat. Hey, JD, over under 50% WrestleMania 37 at full capacity, or I guess that's what he's asking. Over under 50% WrestleMania 37. What do you think? We have fans for WrestleMania next year in Los Angeles?
I'm on the fence whether WrestleMania will even be in Los Angeles next year, and I'm not breaking any news here. I'm just saying I don't know. It seems like LA really wants to just shut things down until 2021, and even then it might be, California even might be then tough to have it. But they're not going to have a 75% capacity WrestleMania. They will go somewhere where they can get 100% of their attendance. So,
what did you have on? I don't know if you can divulge a little bit, but what was the SummerSlam news that you had been talking about on Twitter? I seen some of the dirt sheets picked up on it and were quote tweeting you in some of their articles. What would this backup plan for SummerSlam?
Basically, if you just read between the lines and kind of do your own research, you could kind of figure it out that if Boston, which it doesn't seem like it will open up to full capacity, if they're only going to do a 25% house at TD Garden, or if the state doesn't decide it wants to open up and allow fans to travel and all this other stuff, the WWE is going to have to move it. And they do have backup plans, just like they do with everything. And I think, right now it's Florida and Oklahoma that have opened up to start. And then you could see, maybe 2-3 months from now that those two states and many others, Texas has done it as well, could be at 75% capacity. And I think that will entice WWE just because they really, SummerSlam's the second biggest pay-per-view of the year. So they want to 75 to 100% capacity. And I think, if they can't do it in Boston, they're going to look elsewhere because they want to put the best product forward with fans. I know there's been talk about other things that they were trying to do, but I think that's going to be tabled. And I won't, it's all rumor and innuendo. I don't have a source that tells me things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the social distancing is going to be manageable at 25%. When you're getting into that 50, 75%, then I don't think, hopefully by that point it's not an issue, but we'll see what happens. I just want some liveliness at these shows. I think that's what we all want. No matter if it's 25%, 5%, 10%, it doesn't matter. I want some life to these shows. I think that will go a long way to making SummerSlam a sleeper or a great show. And I think everybody's in agreement with that.
SummerSlam would look cool on like a private beach or something, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Just a thought.
Really? Some old Bash at the Beach type WCW stuff, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they could put 1,000 people and charge them $1,000 a ticket or $500 a ticket, and it could be on a private beach, and it would still look fantastic, in my opinion.
Well, that's all Vince McMahon. Will the old man have fun and fun in the sun this summer? Probably not, but
he was in a T-shirt in that Undertaker documentary. So
say again.
There was a clip for the Undertaker documentary that they were filming him, and he was in a T-shirt, which was very interesting.
It must have been Casual Friday at Titan Tower. I don't know.
He told him to get out. He's like, please get out. So
we got Efren Woods, $2 super chat. Is Candice taking the belt from the android? Probably not. Rhea Ripley will probably take the title from Charlotte, and then Candice will probably feud with Rhea. That's what I see happening.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think Candice is going to beat Charlotte. Yeah, no.
All right. Well, I accidentally clicked on a Harry's ad, so sorry when Drew was talking about that. If you're not shaving with Harry's, I don't know what the fuck the problem is. We got Nathan Hansen, $1.99 super chat. Hi, JD and Drew. Love the show and your content. Thank you, brother. We appreciate that. The Brash 15, $2 super chat. I am 14 and have been a fan of OTS since Battleground 2017. Thank you, man. We got the Spectre Jarvis Walker, $5 super chat. Hi, JD. I'm a wrestler being trained by Hornswoggle in Wisconsin, and I'm curious about what you look for in a pro wrestler and some advice. Much love. Well, my take on pro wrestling is different than Drew, to be fair, but what I look for, I mean, just to give you a glimpse of what I grew up on, Bret Hart, Mr. Perfect, and Shawn Michaels. And then, obviously, The Undertaker's my favorite of all time, with Shawn Michaels being number 2. So, character base, I feel like what wrestling's missing nowadays is big character development and making people stand out, because there was a time where everybody was just coming from the indies and all doing the same thing. In-ring, and then no fucking personality. I want characters. I think characters go a long way. That's why Bray Wyatt got over so big and why he was the number 1 guy in WWE for a little bit until they fucking killed him. But what do you think, Drew? I think characters need to be brought back to WWE, that larger-than-life mentality in pro wrestling again.
Well, I don't want the characters of like Duke.
Not like Doink. I'm not saying like Doink.
I'm just breaking balls.
But Doink was great, though.
Yeah, I mean, my Mount Rushmore or whatever is my favorite wrestlers are very similar. Shawn, Bret, Triple H, Taz, which might surprise a lot of people, but Taz is 100% on my top 10 easily. Chris Jericho, but I look in a professional wrestler. I look to whether they can fully invest in their character, whether they believe it, whether or not, which is why I like MJF, but I think there's some things he needs to tone down a little bit, that he doesn't need to be character all the time, like flipping off kids. But I think MJF is something that you could base your whole coming up with, because he does live that gimmick. I think what I look for is, again, character, whether they can talk, because in today's day and age, if you can't talk, you're getting nowhere, unless you're Brock Lesnar, and those guys are 1 in 500 million. He might not be, and anybody who says Brock Lesnar can't wrestle, I mean, look what he did for Drew McIntyre, not at WrestleMania, but before that, when Brock wants to sell, he could sell. Look what he did with AJ Styles, Rey Mysterio, et cetera, et cetera. I look for somebody who grabs my attention and makes me want to invest in whatever they're doing. And if you could do that and you could perform well in the ring, go for it. Somebody who you should really embody, if you're not a big man or woman, is Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle could out-wrestle anybody, and he really learned how to develop his character, and he could play any sort of character. The moron, the shooter, the best wrestler in the world, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, he's somebody you should really model yourself after if you are not, 6'6". So
that's why some of the most talked about wrestlers in the world right now coming out of AEW, Jericho, his character work has been fucking phenomenal. MJF has been the best heel in all pro wrestling. We got Adam Hangman Page going from vanilla to one of the most over guys in the entire world with his beer gimmick. It's kind of a take on Stone Cold, but it's a little bit more of a AEW style. Luchasaurus is big fan of Luchasaurus. And they're going to continue doing that type of thing. I think that is the step in the right direction. I feel like WWE tries it, and then they kind of fall back on it. They don't really invest too much into it. And when they got somebody like a Ricochet or Cedric Alexander, they don't really do anything with because they just give up. I don't know what the reason is, but the talent's there. Work with them and get the talent over.
Yeah, the problem, Ricochet got a hell of a compliment from The Rock, and then all of a sudden it seemed like... And he got one from Austin, too, and then all of a sudden it seemed like his push went down the drain. So I don't know. Maybe he put up a lot of fight about the whole Saudi Arabia match and getting squashed. I don't know. Maybe that's why. I don't have the answers on what happened.
That could be a possibility. He should have never even been in the match in the first place, but I haven't heard anything on that. But that is actually a very good observation. I didn't even think of that. But listen to this one, man. I definitely want to get your opinion on this. Steve Wynyard, another 5-pound super chat. Daniel Bryan's contract is up soon. If he goes over to AEW, will that scare Vince McMahon?
Yes, but I think Daniel Bryan is perfectly content, has made a lot of money. He is now going to be a dad for the second time, and I think his health and his finances, which they have plenty of now, are all taken care of. So I don't think he wrestles after this.
He stays with the WWE, though.
He could stay with WWE as maybe a writer or something to that extent, or an agent. But no, I don't think Daniel Bryan after this contract. I think he'll be done as an in-ring performer. Huh. Unless they really want to give him a limited schedule like The Undertaker or Brock Lesnar, where he shows up, 5-6 times a year, and that's Lesnar's schedule, not Taker's. So
very interesting. I envision him wanting to wrestle, but we'll see. I really can't tell.
If he goes to AEW, JD, that changes everything. If him and Finn Balor ever ended up in AEW, that change, and CM Punk too, who I'm a huge fan of. I think he has you blocked. I'll try.
No. Punk doesn't have me blocked. Rollins has me blocked.
Oh, yeah.
Punk doesn't. I don't know why. I'm a big Punk guy.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe for some reason it was CM Punk. It's Seth Rollins. Okay. But no, I think CM Punk, Finn Balor, or Daniel Bryan, if they ever went to AEW, or if all three went to AEW, boy, oh boy, you want to talk about a takeover, that WWE would be in a lot of trouble.
Well, maybe we'll see what happens. If Bryan wants that match with Omega, it might be the only opportunity left to do it. We'll see. I pay for it.
I didn't donate to this chat, but I will. Because, I always support pretty much everything you do. I think sometimes you're heated opinions, but hey, that's what's great about professional wrestling and your passion. What do you think that Kenny Omega made the right decision going to AEW? Because what difference is it right now if he was in WWE? Because you're the big Kenny Omega guy. So tell me why he's so important to AEW besides him being one of the best wrestlers in the world. Sure. But they really haven't done much with him.
I think the creative freedom that Kenny has and working his own way and working with who he wants and just being where he wants to be at this point in his career at 35 years old, I think he made the right decision. I feel like if Kenny was on Raw or SmackDown, we'd be seeing... I don't think... it's very hard to pinpoint anything I like on the main roster right now, and I feel like Kenny doesn't deserve that. He didn't want to put himself through that. I feel like with him staying with his boys and starting up AEW, he's a lot happier. I feel like he's going to have a little bit more longevity being with AEW as compared to WWE. I don't know what they're going to do as far as live touring goes when things get back to normal. I think as far as a career decision as a whole, he's made the right decision. New Japan, he would have maybe lasted another 2-3 years at that level. But as far as Kenny's making a decision, I think he made the right one. Yeah. And, he wants to have a legacy. I don't think WWE would have really respected his legacy whatsoever. They would have taken it and done what they want with it, and he would have sold his soul to the devil, and I don't think Kenny would have been heralded as the greatest of all time anymore. I think that's very important to him.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, to touch on another comment that you said, if Daniel Bryan did ever go to AEW, I think that would entice CM Punk to maybe kick the tires on a match there. Because could you imagine those two headlining a main event in Chicago?
Oh, I've said this time and time again. Two things that I said. Number one, the WrestleMania 30 main event should have been Bryan versus Punk, no question. And number two, I said even before Bryan came back, before the coming out of retirement thing, I said if Bryan came back to pro wrestling and signed with a Ring of Honor at the time, because AEW wasn't a thing, I said then that I think Punk would have come out of retirement to wrestle Daniel Bryan. And I really do agree with that. I think if Bryan went over to AEW, that would really entice CM Punk to come over and come out of retirement as well. Because I think that's the one match that both of them still talk about as possibly still happening. They talk about how it should have happened in WWE. And I think that they, even at this stage of their life, I think they want that one match. I think they both bring out the best in each other. And I think that's the one match that we have not seen yet at this level that we all want to see.
Well, why? And I agree with you. You could get back to your super chats, but when is Ospreay coming over?
I don't think Ospreay comes over at all, to be honest with you. I think if he does, it'll be when he wins that New Japan IWGP Championship. He wants that. He's been there for so long and dedicated his life to being there and living there. And I feel like he wants to be that guy there before he does anything else, honestly. And then I do see him working an AEW/New Japan schedule, because at that point, I really do think that AEW is kind of going to be mixed in with Ring of Honor. They might be mixed in with New Japan. Things might be better with them. So we'll see what happens. I think that World Championship is important to him.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think Will Ospreay is one of the best in the world, not to steal CM Punk's moniker, but I would love to see those two lock up, especially Ospreay and Bryan as well.
Well, Ospreay wants it. He said on publicly on Twitter that he wants it. Come through. You got the power to change it all. Do it. We'll see if he does it. Magnificent Swag, $20 super chat. I had to come through, support my bro JD, the most underrated podcast in all of the wrestling community, and part of my household. Keep spitting the truth, and I can tell you're a truth spitter. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Undisputed Era, $5 super chat. Can't wait till quarantine is over so I can train at House of Glory with the awesome team there. I hope so, bro. Hopefully things get back to normal. I miss doing commentary. Also, do you think Double or Nothing should be discounted? Absolutely not. I think Double or Nothing should be at the price that it is. I think it's going to be worth $49.99, no question. And I will be watching. Hopefully you guys will as well. We got, who do we got here? Matt Eagle.
That?
Say again?
How could they discount that? They possibly have no live fans, and now they're going to give you a pay-per-view for what, $29 or $19.99? Listen, I know everyone's going through an economic hard time. We all are. But no, they can't cheapen their product.
No, of course not. They gotta do something, and I think AEW have they failed you yet on a pay-per-view? I don't think so. So I think everything will be fine there. Matt Eagle, Heel Johnny is so refreshing. Although I miss Rebel Heart, I can get behind both his attitude and his music. I thought it was a very good presentation last night so far with both him and Candice. David Hill, 10 pounds. The old man will never change. He's too stubborn. He only has ever done it once when WCW beat them in the ratings for 83 weeks 23 years ago. The formula has changed and has not changed and needs updating. I think we all agree with that. Mosman, $20 super chat. Thank you, brother. Peace, gents. Did you catch Morrow's line about Charlotte? Io was mentioned, too, having one of the best moonsaults in the company. It didn't sound right coming from him. Plus, I don't remember her ever winning with it. Charlotte has one of the worst moonsaults in the business. Morrow was just... I guess WWEing it up last night. I have no idea. But what do you think of Charlotte's moonsault? Quick.
Next question.
Okay, there you go. There's Drew's comment on Charlotte. He thinks it sucks too, guys. Don't worry. Matthew Carruthers, $5 super chat. Jon Moxley basically laid out a challenge for anyone to step up. Tim, for the title, Brody Lee was the first to answer the challenge. That's what it was, but it doesn't necessarily mean it makes sense. So hopefully we'll see what happens in the weeks to come. Brandon Knapp, $4 super chat. Hey, Ticket Drew, Jets.
Amen. Can't wait for football season.
Craig Skiff, $10 super chat. Hey, JD, do you think MJF is the man to take the AEW World title from Jon Moxley later this summer, possibly at All Out? I do. I think Drew and I touched on that when he was on the AEW podcast as well. Prince GQ24. Hey, JD, good work, man. Question, what do you think about Bianca and Naomi being a tag team if they haven't done anything with them, which I hope for a Bianca push. I don't want to see Bianca in a tag team. I think the tag team titles in the WWE, the women's tag team titles, need to be just banished forever. What do you think about that?
Everybody screamed about a tag team championship for the women's division. They got them, and now everyone's like, it sucks.
Because there's no tag teams.
Yeah, which is probably a fault of management. They probably should have really thought about that before they just started putting women's tag team together, but yes.
So Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss might be the longest reigning champions of all time, folks. So get used to it, which is awful. George Isaac, $2. Who do you think will end Adam Cole's reign? I think we talked about that earlier, bro. Could be Karrion Kross. It could be Finn Balor. It could be Tommaso Ciampa could be on any one of those guys. So Adam Cole right now is the man. He should be the man. Undisputed Era, $2 super chat. You and BC Amplified should do a review together. We'll see, man. People give me shit for working with Drew and Jesse last night. So, I'm trying to maneuver different things on the channel just to keep things fresh.
Can I say something, JD?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
God forbid somebody does something with their friends, right?
Yeah.
God forbid somebody wants to support their friends. And JD's not supporting me. I don't make any money off this. I support JD because he's a friend. He supports me because he's my friend. The same thing goes with Jesse and stuff like that. Guys, stop looking at everything so negatively and just understand that there's a lot more to life than just getting on a chat and shitting on people that you do or don't like. Life is, and I'm not trying to be Mr. Positivity here, but life's beautiful. You get to go on a computer and talk shit, right? We're living in a different age, and hopefully everyone here is healthy and happy. And I'm just happy to get on here and chat with a buddy of mine about professional wrestling. So stop shitting on JD and what he's doing.
And I mean, have you guys not enjoyed the show? What did we say that was outlandish or shill-like? I mean, it's everybody thinks they're not getting me, but they're still getting me. I haven't changed. I don't really change because Drew's on the show, or I don't change because Jesse's on the show. If you don't want to watch, fine. You don't want to watch. But sometimes it's very difficult to do 2-3 hour podcasts all by myself. It's a lot easier to bounce shit off other people. That's why I am opting to do it a little bit more. Sometimes I'm tired on a Wednesday night when I got to watch 4 hours of fucking wrestling. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. So that's that. We got Patrick Light, $1 super chat, or $2 super chat. Do you think the Hacker could be a new faction? Who do you think the Hacker is? It's not CM Punk.
No, God, no, it's not CM Punk. I really thought it was Mustafa Ali for a while, but I'm not really too sure. I mean, I think it could be two people because they've been different hands. If you watch when they do the thing, it's white, and then the other hand, I believe, was like tan. So I don't know. I think it might be more than one person. What about you?
I mean, I think they're throwing everybody off with it being Xavier Woods kind of. I don't know if you've seen that tweet. Xavier Woods was one of the voiceovers there being disguised. I don't think it has anything to do with Xavier Woods. I do think it's something for Ali or possibly Gable or both. I think that would probably be best. It's not CM Punk. I think WWE is just trying to throw you off the scent there. I mean, that's what you got. That's what you got for CM Punk after all this time. A fucking Hacker gimmick. Give me a break.
First of all, they wouldn't waste Punk without a crowd. Sorry.
They wouldn't waste Punk with what?
They're not going to have a CM Punk return without a crowd.
Oh, of course not. Of course.
I mean,
not.
let's just, you could take questions here or whatever, or people can bash me if they don't agree. If they announce CM Punk's return to Monday Night Raw, they could probably have it at the Georgia Dome or MetLife Stadium, and the thing would sell out. I'm very confident on that.
Do you think him being on WWE Backstage has kind of soured and kind of made him, I guess, a little bit more undesirable?
Nah, it was probably a Fox contract, I know it's a Fox contract. I don't think it has anything to do with WWE. And I think he wants to show that he could do things on his own. And I'm very supportive of him and everything that he will continue to do. I like everything. Do I think WWE soured on him? No, because the WWE knows they could still make money off him. The second he wants it, the second they could capitalize on it.
Do you think AJ Lee would have more of a pop now than CM Punk?
Oh, I think AJ Lee would have a big pop. I mean, she's not going to have MetLife Stadium sell out, but not many people can. I mean, that's reserved for a select few. But I think she could definitely put a lot of butts in the seats once that's socially acceptable.
One guy you want to see Punk against? Top guy.
One guy I want to see Punk against. Top guy right now. I definitely want to see Seth Rollins, and Punk. But man, if I had to pick one guy, if they got him back soon enough, I'd love to see the Bryan match. I really would.
Yeah,
really would.
That's the same thing for me. I think that's just the one match I care about. I think anything else is really inconsequential. It's just whatever. I don't think Punk is going to be back for a big 3-year deal like Edge or something like that. I think it's going to be a match here or there if it does happen. But who the fuck knows? I think he's a game changer and the last game changer in the industry. But it's all on WWE to really want to work with him, and it's all on him really to want to kind of sell his soul again. So we'll see what happens. JD, great work. Vince will leave WWE to Triple H, and does Triple H even want the company to do that? Yeah, I think Triple H is the right guy to do it. Being that I got Drew here for the last minute or so, why did Triple H sell $1 million worth of stock yesterday? Does he need the money, or do they foresee something coming?
What? When do you not need money?
I don't know. Dude, these are the elites amongst the elites. They need fucking money.
Of course they do, because they live they live elite lifestyles. Triple H might not be the lavish lifestyle that Vince McMahon or Linda McMahon lives, but I mean, come on. The stock price that Triple H probably got the stock at was probably pennies on the dollar, and he's selling at 40 whatever a share. Kevin Dunn does it every year. All these millionaires stay millionaires.
Yeah.
That's why they're not in this chat bashing people, because they stay millionaires. Take care of your money.
There you go. There you go.
Take care of
I don't know. Listen, I don't know. People are like, oh, something bad's happening. Something bad. I don't fucking know. He probably needed the money was my first thought. You know?
Everything is doom and gloom. Triple H doesn't need any money. Triple H is married to Stephanie. They don't need anything. Triple H's kids are set. But he's smart, because he might have got it at $6 a share, which is probably high, and he's selling at $40-something a share. Now, when you have 100,000 shares or 1 million shares, do the math, man. Do the math. Yeah. I have over 100 shares in WWE. I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for that moment where they're at $90 a share so I can cash in. But I could only imagine if I had a million shares of WWE. Listen, come on, guys. No way. WWE's not going anywhere. Not right now. They might. I can't say they're not going to sell, but Triple H doesn't need the money. And not everything's doom and gloom. This happens all the time. All the time.
We got a couple more here. JD, always be yourself. Appreciate the work. Thank you, man. Ricardo Thomas, $1 super chat. Thank you. Jacob, I don't want WWE to make Scarlett Bordeaux an in-ring competitor. I don't think so either. I think she's fine as a valet. Thank you, JD, for taking my mind off things, says Indigo. And one more before we get out of here, man. Justin Alba just super chatted $2. AEW 732,000 beats NXT at 663,000 in the ratings again.
The ratings are out?
Yeah, the ratings are out, yeah.
God, say it again. I missed that.
732,000 for AEW and 663,000 for NXT.
All right, so I predicted 819 for AEW, so they went up at least over 100,000, which is good. Good for them. Wow, good.
And when fans are in the building, I think it's going to be more. You know, I think NXT is kind of flatlined at where they are right now, and AEW right now, that's what they have been getting, a little bit less than what they've been getting. But I think when things go back to normal, I think both shows will go up, but AEW still be in the lead.
Listen, nobody is, and I just want to clear this up. I'm not insulting anybody who's in the chat. I just think for you to waste your time and energy, whether you're bashing me, JD, Jesse, WWE, whomever, great, fine. That's all good and well. But don't spend too much time and energy on that crap, because at the end of the day, it doesn't mean anything. JD still sleeps fine at night. So does Jesse. So does myself. And so does WWE. I mean, that's all I'm saying. Take care of the things that matter to you. Your family, your bank account, and whatever else you hold important. But stop worrying about minuscule crap like this. This is entertainment, guys. It really is. Not life or death.
Man, I'm going to lose sleep over NXT losing the ratings tonight. I'm going to have nightmares. I don't know what to do with myself.
I doubt that highly. you probably got a chalkboard and you're probably like, one more tally for NXT or AEW.
Anyway, man, I'm going to get out of here. I want to thank you again for joining me. Hopefully I can have you on again next week. This was a blast. I hope everybody enjoyed the podcast today. It'll be on YouTube in a little bit when it finishes processing. It'll be on iTunes and Spotify and all that good stuff. So I want to thank my man, Ticket Drew, for being here. Drew, anything you want to add before we get the hell out of here?
No, I shouldn't say no. I just want everybody to be safe, happy, and healthy. Go check out, go to Pedialyte.com, grab yourself some hydration, especially for the summertime. Head over to ONNIT.com for some Alpha Brain and whatever other supplements that can keep you healthy. JD, I will send you some stuff. Like I said, just stay healthy, and you can catch me on Monday nights on Fight TV on PWR. But I am more than happy to do these things with you. I'm grateful, and I am happy that you and your loved ones are safe and sound, because that's all that matters.
Same to you, man. Again, thank you so much for joining me. And guys, hit that thumbs up. I only see about 400 or so thumbs up. Let's get that shit over 1,000. Helps out the video. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. And if you missed any of the content, links are down below in the description of this very video. So I want to thank you guys again, and I will see you all right back here for Off the Script tomorrow. And I'll see you guys later, man. Thanks for joining us.